Let's look at while and do while. These are different ways that we can work with looping throughout our programs. They work similarly to the if statement, similarly to the for loops. And what it is basically saying is while a condition is true, we're going to be able to perform actions over and over again. Now you don't want to get into an endless loop situation, so you always want to have whatever the condition is, have that change. If you're going through data, looping through data, then you want to increment or decrement that record count or whatever row you're on. You want to move to the next one. If you're working within arguments in an array list or any array, for example, then you want to actually move on to the next or go to the previous one. This is going to allow you to stay out of that endless loop scenario. So in this example, we're introducing something else here, plus plus to the left as opposed to plus plus to the right. And let's look at the difference. The normal one of I++, while we do our while loop, notice that we're going to do this as long as I is less than 1,000. See that I starts at 900. That's what we have here. I is initialized to 900. In the while loop, we're going to write out our value or using a write line to the console. I is our variable that we're using. Notice that it starts with 900 and it goes up to 999. Because when it reaches 1,000, it comes back up and checks to see what that value is again. It doesn't process this I equals 900 again, but it works within the block. To the end of the block, come back up, test. So it tests, and when it is 1,000, it drops out. So maybe you want to do 1,001, or you want to do less than or equal to. So let's do less than or equal to before we change that value that I was just working on there. Okay, so now I can equal 1,000, but it still starts off at 900. And so we look here, and instead of doing the plus plus to the right, we'll do it to the left. And we'll start with debugging, without debugging, and you see that it starts off by printing and outputting 901 to 1001. So let's see what happens there. So this is actually going to change the value before it processes this statement. So that's very interesting to do that before we process the statement. We'll keep this open. So that's why it starts off at 901, because this statement allows that increment to go, and then it processes that write line. Very handy. So I now changes. And at the end, we see 1001 because it gets outputted before this loop has a chance to come back and see that 1001 isn't contained in that loop. So interesting ways you can work. Always a little bit here, a little bit there, and it is something that you just have to line up to what you need, but it works quite nice. So this gets tested first. The secret of the while loop, test first and then do a condition. Let's look at another way of doing that. You can also do minus as well. If we did minus, then we're in some problems because it's always going to be less than 1,000. So it'll never reach 1,000. And we'll just leave that as is. We'll change it back. Now we'll do a do loop. Do is very similar to the while. We'll actually copy this first. We'll paste it here, put a semicolon, just because that is what is needed, and then we'll create a do. So a do is going to do something, and then it's going to test that while. Do something while I is less than 1,000. So it has a different effect. It'll do it first, without even checking it. And then it's going to say, well, while this is still less than 1,000, let's keep doing it. And it has the same effect to get us to 1001, but that check comes at the end. So it just is how you want to use it. I often get by with using my while loop, and I just form my logic so that it fits within what I want using a while loop. I don't often use a do, but you can use a do as you want to, and it just has a different philosophy on working with it. Do first, then test a condition, as opposed to test the condition, then do. And it always wraps around the fact that you have to create your logic to do what you want it to do. And that's really how it works. So do while, whatever you want, as you wish. That's how it works.